All right, here we go. OverDrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app. Your home smart speaker up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. How are we feeling this afternoon?
Fired up to be in studio. We got two of our new buddies in the studio checking us out. Had a little lunch beforehand.
Yeah.
You scheduled a fake meeting to leave early, which was a greasy move.
I think I got to do a Sportscenter hit. I'll see you guys later.
I take offense to that. I mean, it was a situation where I can't control what other departments are going to do around here.
That's true.
Dude, if that was me, you would have said, let me see the email on your phone that you got to go. You wouldn't have believed me. You wouldn't have believed me.
I probably wouldn't.
I know.
Yeah. You're right. But you think I put a suit on?
No, I don't think it was
I mean,
fake.
you can see me. It's already been posted. I did a hit with was Rod. Rod and we're really
Best
connecting.
buddies?
Rod
Is there
Smith
any
and
eyeballs when you guys, like the Owen Wilson,
No.
the Hazen bot? Like, does he know what's at stake? What's going on with that connection?
Listen, Rod is a professional. He's a man of integrity. He wouldn't steep to that depth.
I know, but is there any hatred? Look, because I know when he does a hit with Luke, he's eyeballing his partsy up like he's Thanksgiving dinner because that's his partsy.
As he should.
But does he give you the death stare?
Tries to jam you up.
It can get a little cold.
Doesn't come back at you like Gino, does he?
No, Gino, when you guys know, when you're doing a Sportscenter hit with Gino, anything can happen. Sparks can fly. There's a chance he's going to get in there.
Yeah.
He's got something to say. And, Rod's on his toes, man. Rod, you don't make your bones in this business the way he has without being on your toes.
Yeah. Go win Wilson.
There it is. So, I had to go do that, but we were across the street having lunch. Jason and Will, they're still here hanging around. The Grappler playing concierge. Yeah. Very nice of the Grappler to show everybody. And
it's nice to see the Grappler flourish in a leadership type position.
He really is flourishing in that role.
He is, man.
Why is he
he's got a vibe to him. He's got a look to him.
It is a good question. Today, you would think would be a suit day for a guy who is developing into a suit. Like the Grappler is slowly transitioning into a suit.
Not for the Grappler. T-shirt, work boots, and tight jeans. And it was a great look.
Looks phenomenal, and he's leading the charge, and we love that.
I got to be honest. I don't even know if we have the clip, but I won't say what we were doing before the show, but we had to tape something. Can we say that? We could say that we taped something, right? We always tape.
Absolutely, yeah.
I witnessed something. I don't know if you saw it, but do you remember the video? It was years ago, Bill O'Reilly, where he grew less and less patient, impatient.
Yeah. And we'll do it live. Screw it. We'll do it live.
I looked over. And at one point,
you're looking at me.
Well, I'll be honest, because like we had somebody on on TV. They were waiting. Everyone was fired up about it, and you made the noise. Like, and it was like I actually almost burst out laughing. But we were taping.
I did not even notice.
You did the Bill O'Reilly like
you had
almost
steam coming out of you. You don't like the waiting game.
Well, there was a communication breakdown, right? And it happens. And we had a fourth party. Luke was on, and Luke's in Vegas right now. So we had a camera that was upside down. There was a lot of weird stuff.
The camera went upside down.
That camera's a bastard.
I hate that camera.
That camera, I'm going to drop kick it one of these days.
I got a real problem.
It was upside down, and then we started talking, and somehow it zoomed in, and you went...
Yeah.
And all I could think of was Bill O'Reilly. Do we have the clip? Do you remember the Bill O'Reilly?
I know exactly.
Down?
I know. This has to be like really censored.
How many years ago?
He was on like Inside Edition. That was like 30 years ago.
Yeah, he said, bleep it. We're doing it live.
All right, play it.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
That was you an hour ago.
Sucks.
That was you. That's your face right there.
There it is.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks again for watching. We'll leave you.
Oh, man, it's so good because it was something about you, too. I've watched that clip so many times. Was it Sting? Okay, Sting. Yeah.
Because he was saying, and Sting, and he said... He started correcting the words in the prompter.
Right.
That's what happened.
Because he's like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And he's like, and the best part is, that really is TV in a nutshell or radio in a nutshell. That when they're counting you down beforehand, you're like, oh, God, I'm going to lose my mind. And then it's like, all right, hey, everybody, how's everyone doing? This is really great stuff.
Yeah.
And I was getting a little bit flustered because there's people that are dealing with timelines, and they're down in Vegas, and we're up here, and again, the camera was upside down. And
everybody needs a shot of Duthie when things are going haywire, because I've seen him where it's like, okay, we're ready to go, and then like half an hour will go by, and then a camera breaks, and then lighting's screwed up, and you'll just sit there and be like, I'm ready when you are, and there's nothing else you can do.
There's nothing else you can do. I didn't realize I was channeling Bill O'Reilly.
No, you weren't. You just made that sound, and it made me think of that clip. I don't know how out of nowhere I had the recall for that clip, but you waited like it was, the camera went upside down, and then it zoomed in on us.
Well, that was right, because I had started the bit, and then I realized, I'm like, the camera's off. So I think I did. Yeah. I guess I pulled a Bill O'Reilly.
You made the noise. That's it. It was just the noise.
There was no profanity, no yelling or screaming.
Nothing. It was just the noise.
The noise.
I thought to myself,
because that one is wild. Like just seeing him have to regroup because his head is about to explode.
The whole clip is actually
the guy. The director, the producer's like, all right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and he's got to regroup and pretend like he wants to get through this.
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
And eventually he just storms off.
Yeah.
And I guess they did it live in the end.
Through the pan.
That was quite something, Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Anyway, good to see you guys. Good to see everyone behind the scenes as well. Everyone's having a good time today.
Did you hear that noise out of Sheldon Keefe last night with the peewee hockey comment?
The peewee hockey comment. Why don't we play that, JP and Doogie? Because I'm sure most people have seen it or heard of it, but this was after the game last night. He was asked about specifically the breakdown coming off a power play where McLean got behind him, ends up scoring.
Don't be shy to say it. It was a breakdown. It was a giveaway.
It was a full-blown breakdown.
And Matthews, by Austin Matthews.
Absolutely. Matthews, and then Robertson kind of lost the battle, and then Liljegren was caught.
It's gone.
That's who it was. It was absolutely Matthews, lazy play on the boards. That's what it was. And here's what Sheldon Keefe had to say after the game.
This is the National Hockey League. That's peewee stuff. It's nothing to do with the season or anything like that. You play on the power play in the National Hockey League, they should not get behind you coming out of the penalty box.
Oof, peewee comments. How does that ring in the room?
He was pissed. You could tell. He was holding back, biting his lip.
Listen, the Pierre Engvall revenge game has got to be infuriating. Yeah. He got himself a montage last night too, a standing ovation. And a video.
Was it a standing?
Carlo was at the game, and he goes, I hardly heard anyone clap for the Engvall.
I heard there was golf claps.
There was. I guarantee you someone stood up.
For sure.
Someone gave him a standing ovation. Okay. Give me one guy in there.
Pierre, he got one guy in there.
Engvall got one.
But the peewee frustration comment from the coach has got to be, and it's not like you fire up and you lose the first one and the sky is falling, but everyone outside must be thinking, okay, you had your time.
Yeah.
The all-star guys had your all-star time. And it's like, we got a 35-game sprint here, or whatever the amount of games is. And we got to be dialed in. And it's just like the giveaway along the boards. And then the Engvall goal, which people are talking about Morgan Riley. But the idea in the National Hockey League is not to deliver a big tumbling pile of garbage to someone else. And that's exactly what Brody gave to him.
Yeah.
It was a hot pile of garbage spinning on top of each other, and it got to Riley, and everybody slowed up, and then Riley panicked, and he didn't follow Engvall back to the net. But that play started with that stupid little play right there, and Morgan didn't do a good enough job with it, and he didn't do a good enough job after getting to Engvall in front of the net. But it's like, why isn't it like desperation time where it's like everything's dialed in? You had some success before the break. Why are we having these silly little plays at this particular time when we know what's at stake? And that's what must drive the coach nuts. Mm-hmm. It's not the sky is falling, but guys, what are we doing?
It's leaky
here?
Though. It's inconsistent. That's the story. That game last night, that's the story of their whole season.
Because when Tavares scored that goal, I was like, okay, you got your point in the bank. Go and get the second one in overtime. That's in my mind. I was like, either it gets to overtime and they've got some momentum. The building's alive. I thought Tavares played very well last night. He looked very noticeable. There were other guys who looked a little sleepy, but I thought that was an OT game.
And it has to be.
It had 1 point guaranteed for both sides written all over it, and then one mistake and you lose in regulation. That's where. Because there were mistakes on both sides. I thought the goaltenders made some good saves. I thought it's weird. Samsonov looked like there were some shaky moments for me,
so too.
personally.
I thought even the breakaway, like an overcommitment.
Yeah, he
like
bid on that.
A bit of a big rebound on the Engvall goal. I don't know where you stand on that.
There was just some like unsettling moments where it's like, oh, that there was a shot down the wall where he kind of stood up on it, went 5-hole, and you're like, okay, that was close. And then just before that play, I think Palmieri hit the post on the far side as they were before that goal against. So there were a few shaky moments. But I thought, okay, that's exactly what we got coming out of the All-Star break. A low-scoring game. There were some high-event plays, but not really. It was kind of a tight game. I thought both goalies made some good saves.
In saying that, Noodles, the Leafs did have some good opportunities. Matthews had that triple post.
Yeah.
There was some close opportunities where their goaltender, Sorokin, made some quality
really good saves.
And if that goes the other way, then we're not talking about that. Or we're not talking about this, but guess what? It didn't go that way.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I thought Keefe, described it perfectly last night. He said, we did enough. We played well enough to win, but we just did enough to lose. Effectively, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But, and again, that's been the story of their year. I don't think you watched last night. I thought they were a bit sleepy early. I credit the Islanders. They came out. I thought they were more physical. They're kind of on their toes. And I guess, Barzal was speaking, was pumping the tires of Patrick Waugh, and Waugh's a passionate guy, and he wants a passionate team, energetic, physical. Yeah. That's the nature of the Islanders. That's their DNA. That's who they are. But I didn't think the Leafs were awful or, had a poor effort last night.
No.
But a lot of it is self-inflicted. Again, coming off a power play, Matthews, you can't lose a board battle there. And then, Robertson's there in support. And I can't remember. I think it was Clutterbuck. I can't remember who it was. Desperation play, dives at it, gets it to the middle of the ice. Really smart, hard-nosed play by the Islanders. Boom, it's in the back of your net. And Matthews can't make that play. Liljegren can't get caught there. That's a peewee type mistake. And then even the breakdown at the end. Like, the nature of the NHL point system in 2024 is it is a three-point game.
Yeah.
Like, it is a loser point world. That really is the difference in a lot of ways between Boston and the Leafs. Yeah. Vancouver and Nashville. There's extremes there. But the point being is the best teams, even if they lose in overtime, especially when it's tight. And that's what it was last night. That's a tie game with 3 minutes
that's
to go.
What I said.
At home. You have to get a point.
That was 1-1. Like, to me, I was sitting there thinking, as soon as Tavares scored, I'm like, okay, 1 point in the bank. Maybe they get in regulation, but I thought they had some momentum. And right away, the Islanders didn't fold. And you're right. Watching Patrick Waugh behind the bench, like he has that intensity. They flashed him, then he swore, in French. I don't know if you saw him.
I thought I saw the word. It started with a T, I think.
Yeah. Well, you can soften it. I've had my French buddies say tabarnouche.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so apparently that's like, saying frig type of thing.
All right, okay.
So anyways, but
thank you for that update.
But I mean, I hate when we talk about, like, Patrick Waugh brings this passion and energy. I played for the Carolina Hurricanes for 10 years. To play on the Carolina Hurricanes, you were expected to have some type of passion, energy in every game that you played.
Right.
And that was from people like Gary Roberts and Steve Chason and Ron Francis and Kevin. Like, it's not like this should be some reward to your organization to play or with that.
Well, I agree with you. I agree.
It's got to be like the standard going into any game for any team, for any player.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, like, mistakes at the end of the game, that's TJ Brody and Morgan Riley. Like, those are your two veteran. That's your number one pair.
TJ Brody is playing too much. It's at that point, he's logging too many minutes. But you look down their roster, who's going to replace his minutes? They have no one to replace his minutes.
And the same thing with that power play where I think there was a whistle with like 55 seconds to go. And Keefe could have put out a different unit. He didn't, which means Matthews played the full 2 minutes. But the catch-22 on that is it's a low-scoring game. You have a PP1 that plays 2 minutes almost all the time. All your eggs are in the basket of basically four forwards.
I'll never comment on a coach taking the number one unit off. They're going to do you more good than they are harm.
Exactly.
And that's just the way it is.
And if they're going to be out there and they want it out there, because if you take them off and the second power play unit goes in and chops it around and it kills it, Matthews going to look around and say, why the hell aren't I on the ice? So you're on the ice, you got to make the appropriate play. You can't get caught. There was some changing on the fly. Liljegren was out there. Robertson was out there. I think Bertuzzi was out there. But again, I don't buy this idea that, Matthews and Riley and them, well, they were at the All-Star game, so give them a break. Absolutely not. They didn't practice Sunday. They didn't play. Not that that's an issue, but they had an off day. They didn't travel anywhere. Like, do you think McDavid's going to play 13 minutes tonight because he was at the All-Star game? I think Draisaitl's going to show up and say, hey, I just ease me in here because I had a lot of meet and greets and I signed a bunch of autographs. No chance.
Yeah,
like you're playing. It's that's what is frustrating, I think, for Keefe. It's the National Hockey League. And this is a different approach for him. Generally, he coddles. Generally, he's uber positive, or at least circles back on positivity. And he did not do that today. I have a quote here. We don't have the audio yet. We'll try to get it later in the hour. He just was speaking recently. And Sheldon Keefe said, quote, "We've got a good team here. We've got good players. As a coaching staff, we need to do a better job with them and work with them and help them recognize our own goal in getting the team to play to its potential. And I think we've done that, I would say, about 50% of the games. We've been really good. That's not enough. That's not enough in the NHL," end quote. So he's basically saying what everyone else has been saying, that they're very inconsistent. 50% of the time over the course of a season, they play to their potential. And he's highlighting his own issues as a staff. Like, if he's saying we got to do a better job, well, what are you waiting for, Sheldon? It's February. Like, when are you going to push the right buttons here?
You're right, but what are the buttons? Like, we just pointed one out. You give the top power play the full 2 minutes. Go and here's the ice time. Go. Patrick Waugh, one of the things that he did, Matthew Barzal, he's pushing him out the board, like going. He plays his top players. Top players get a lot of ice time. They've got to back it up with great play. And if you don't, that's when you start to take the ice time away from them. So, yes, I'm sure there's mistakes. Not sure. There have been mistakes by every coaching staff. Ultimately, though, we just talked about it. This falls on the players. That's not Sheldon Keefe throwing a grenade over to Morgan Riley. That's not Sheldon Keefe having a soft play along the wall and not identifying a potential threat coming out of the penalty box. Like, those are, I don't know if that's teaching moments. Those are moments where you expect players to understand that.
I don't think it matters what coach you have behind the bench. If you make a silly mistake like that, that's again, the National Hockey League. Like, that's,
and they can use some depth scoring once in a while, too. It's like they got a goal from Engvall, the game winner. Somebody...
That's
Tyler
an issue right now. Bertuzzi is a real issue. Like, Bertuzzi, he scored 6 goals, and I think he scored 1 in his last, 27 games. Like that. Yeah. And meanwhile, he's on 6-on-5. He's on the second power play, and I know they've invested in him.
Second power play, you can't even almost make that comment. It's 15 seconds worth.
But why does he keep getting top 6 minutes is my question.
Well, my question would be who goes in? Well, who do you put there?
At this point, anybody, considering the offense he's supplying. Like, he's literally supplying fourth-line offense. Yeah, Ryan Reeves has scored more recently than he has.
I get it, but I think they tried. This Holmberg guy was in the minors. All of a sudden, he's on the first line. Like,
I get it.
I look at it as I would expect more from Bertuzzi, Nyes, Domi. Like the
Nyes is blended into the season, also. Yeah.
But again, MJ continues to point out it wasn't like Nyes was a guy who was 40 goals a year in college. He's not a huge point producer.
I get it, Noodles, but we talked about it being the National Hockey League, and it's not like he's shown his driver's license before he comes into the building. He's going out on the ice with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner a lot of the shifts, and if it's not that, it's John Tavares and William Nylander. It's like, you want to be with the big boys and be treated like a big boy and come up from college and say, I'm this and that, and I deserve that. You got to produce.
You got to produce. They got to get something out of that. Like, that left side in the top 6 is.
I just Noah Gregor, McCann.
I hear you. Maybe Robertson gets an opportunity.
Robertson, it gets thin depending on who you want to place there.
Yeah, and we don't have to break them all individually and throw them in the dumpster, but one of them's got to contribute a little bit once in a while.
That's what it's
not good enough to just go out there and say, I finished my check, I worked hard. Like, it seems like it's just a Matthews goal, a Nylander goal, or a top goal, or it's nothing. It's like someone else has to do something. Same as their decor. Offense from their decor. It's like a Morgan Riley end-to-end rush, and what else are you getting from the decor offensively?
Yeah.
It's not a lot, dude.
No, it's not a lot. It's not. And, I mean, that has been a challenge again. That's, again, speaks to the inconsistencies that they've had. Yet, they're in a playoff spot, but Boston's gone. Florida kind of feels like they're probably gone.
They've got to get going.
You're in a race.
We're going to continue to
Tampa and Detroit and the Islanders. Now you gave them 2 points in reg last night.
Yeah.
That's what position you're in right now.
Looking at Bertuzzi, he scored last against Ottawa December 27th. Before that, it was November 25th against Pittsburgh. So he's one goal since November 25th.
2.5 months.
Like that's
again, to break it down, NHL, you can't go in there every day and see on the whiteboard you have one goal in 2.5 months.
Yeah,
he's been playing every.
But I'm sure it's frustrating for him.
Of course,
you got to find a way. Like
but that's just those. There's some things you can say like, no, actually, I thought he killed penalties pretty well.
Right,
he checked pretty well. He had energy.
Yeah.
If you're a top 6 guy and you score once in 2.5 months, like that's really glaring.
Yeah,
really glaring. And
even when I was an established player / scorer, I would expect if you go that long with one goal to not be playing, to be honest with you.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Salary cap era is different where it's like that's your lineup that's going out there, but I would be scared to death of getting the text saying you're actually not going to.
And yet he shows up to the rink every day, and it's not just on Bertuzzi.
No, this isn't it.
He shows up and it's like, all right, you're still playing with John and Willie.
What we're talking about here, if you want to put an umbrella over all of it, is just the inconsistencies in the lineup. Production, defensive play. And if you put all the inconsistencies together, you're going to get a team with that record and the results in games and instances and isolated plays like you're going to get last night. Yeah. That's all the inconsistencies. That's what it is.
This is extreme, but when Edmonton, for this first 6 weeks, was a dumpster fire, you couldn't look on that roster and say anybody playing to their potential. I think, there was Warren Fogle and Evander Kane had a couple bursts. But outside of that, McDavid was hurt. Everybody was playing off. Couldn't get a save. And, Ken Holland kind of sat on his hands and didn't do much. Fired the coach, yes, but then didn't tinker with the roster. The players started playing better. If you look at this roster, we can go from last night, who was playing. Is everybody playing up to their potential? I would say Matthews and Nylander for the most part. Nylander's had a great season, but he's hit the ditch recently. Mitch scores last night. Tavares looked good. Is there anybody else on that roster you can go, God, that guy has had a great season or firing on all cylinders? Morgan Rielly.
Riley's had a really good year.
Great year.
He's had defensive breakdowns. And again, him and Brody's been struggling, and they've had some bad defensive moments.
Yes.
But overall, Riley's been very good.
So there's a handful of guys you can say that are playing up to their potential. I would expect more out of Max Domi. I would expect more out of Tyler Bertuzzi. I would expect more because
Yarncroke when he's healthy.
Like you look at that group, they need them in that bottom 6 to function. Because if there's a night where maybe those 4 aren't going or you find a way to neutralize them, where's the threat coming?
Well, and that's at the core of every conversation revolving around this team is like the 5 guys. Like that, it's like everyone just orbits around them. And if you don't get enough, you're in big trouble because you've spent so much on Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, and Rielly, and it's only going to go up.
Right.
Matthews gets $2 million more next year. Willie gets like $5 million more.
Right.
It's only going to become even more difficult for them to make sure they get something out of third line left wing,
right,
fourth line center, second pair D, because the money is so committed and the philosophy is going to continue. They've doubled down, tripled down. They signed Matthews, they signed Willie.
Yeah.
And if you just keep coming in and saying, man, I like Matthews and I liked Willie and Morgan was good, but you don't start mentioning, and there have been times, don't get me wrong, there have been times where Nye's been good, Domi's been good, McCabe's been good, Liljegren's been good, like other guys.
Enough of that, though.
But that's it. Like you're asking for more consistency and more depth and more options. And at this point, it hasn't really happened, and it probably explains why they're in the situation they're in.
Yeah.
Where they're in the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
As opposed to a team that's kind of hitting on all cylinders.
Yep.
Brian Boyle will join us. Catch up with Brian Boyle. We got Confirm and Deny coming up today. Actually, Chris Horvat sent a great clip. We got to play it. Cheese sent a clip of Travis Kelce dropping a Fergie last night at the media day.
Really?
So we'll play that for you.
Oh, I know what it would be. Are you retiring after this? I can't confirm or deny.
I don't remember the nature of the question.
Probably about Taylor Swift, no?
It was definitely something to do with Taylor Swift. But yeah, sure. JP, Joe, let's grab that clip because there was a Fergie last night at the media day.
Love it.
Well, I can either confirm or deny that.
Yeah, and the Raptors got blown out. You know what's finally happened? Darko's had enough. Darko Rajokovic went. Well, they got crushed last night.
They had a dude goofing on him in the corner after a basket. He was hiding, and then he snuck up and stole the ball. It was embarrassing.
That's peewee basketball,
dude.
Man.
Did you see the? You know the play I'm talking about?
No, I don't know.
New Orleans scored a basket, and there was a guy in the corner hiding, and then the Raptors inbounded it, and then he snuck up and stole it.
The old stealth mode inbound play,
That's
which
like
means
the fake ball in the glove when you're
just not paying attention.
You got to find it, please, because you got to watch it and look how embarrassing it is.
I know.
It was peewee stuff.
You're not paying attention. You're like, all right, give me the ball. Go ahead.
And the guy was hiding in the corner like a fan, and then he jumped into the play. It was outrageous. Joe from the Bridge, please get that.
We'll find that. Yeah, Darko's head was not in a good place last night. And listen, this is what you're going to get. The Raptors are really not a good team. Like, they really are struggling. They got injuries.
They're going to stink for a long time.
The problem is you probably got a brace for possibly years. Like, possibly. I hope not. And they're going to do whatever they can to piece some stuff together. But there's a chance we're talking like 2 or 3 years. And I think what's dawning on Raptor fans is like, man, I really loved that 2019 run. Like, maybe I wish I loved it that much more because
you're gonna see you're gonna fall in love with some kind of middle of the road guys that are gonna be revolving doormen.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen, right? And you're putting Scotty Barnes. He was announced to the All-Star game today, which is great for Scotty. He's going there for the first time.
Yeah,
right. He's going in there as an injury replacement. I believe that
called that.
He did.
Scotty Barnes,
and I think
who's All-Star.
He is an all-star. He did call that.
That's right.
I think that's the beginning of many for Scotty, but Scotty's got to make sure he's in a positive frame of mind because this is going to be a challenge for him.
I tell you, he's replacing Embiid, or one of them is replacing Embiid. That Philly team stinks without Embiid. They might not win another game.
Oh.
They get dummied by 30 every night now.
Yeah, he is so good. Everything revolves around him. Like he goes out there. He is a one-man show in Philly. And he's going to be out at least a month, if not more than that. Not good. All right. Brian Boyle coming up. Mike Johnson, confirm and deny. Luke Wilson from Vegas. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. Oilers in Vegas tonight. What a week to be in Vegas. Go to an Oiler Golden Knights game tonight. Maybe go to the Super Bowl.
I bet you James Duthie would be at the Oiler game tonight.
You would think so, right? Like, why wouldn't JD pop over there and maybe host a little panel on the side? I don't know. Maybe a little double action for JD.
That would be all right. Luke on the hockey panel, too.
That's right. Bring Luke in, Farhan, Nailgun. Get all the boys down there. Kara's down there.
Yeah.
All right, here's former Leaf, former NHLer, NHL Network analyst Brian Boyle joining us here on OverDrive. How you doing, Brian?
Good, fellas. What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. We're excited to have you, and obviously we're buzzing about this game in Vegas tonight. And I think it's a pretty fitting opponent for the Oilers, considering they're trying to slay a dragon here and track down that 92-93 Pens team and get to 17 straight wins. But in order to do it, they got to get through the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year, the team that has been basically the boogeyman out in the Pacific Division. How do you think this one plays out tonight?
This is great for Edmonton. Like I was probably their harshest critic, right? And even after the coaching change, I didn't really like how they started. But you got to give them some credit because those things take time. And I love the way they're playing now. And for them, they're gonna want this one. Obviously, they should be motivated for it. They had a little break, but. I mean, this is an opportunity. You get a few of these a year, and I noticed that when we had the outdoor games where it's like a game 7 kind of. Maybe this one isn't quite like that, but it's going to be a playoff atmosphere, and you go and you give it what you have, and then you can kind of reassess. So it's great for both teams. Vegas, hopefully, they're figuring it out too. Lately, maybe it's a potential future matchup. They're both in the same division, but they have to meet in the playoffs, and just for hockey's sake, they got to meet in the playoffs. I'm excited about tonight. I can't wait to see it should be fireworks, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the NHL hasn't changed that much, has it?
I hope not. I'm banking on that.
Brian, there was the coaching change in Edmonton, as you just detailed. It just happened in Los Angeles. You've been in the locker rooms more recently than Brian Noodles and myself. what is it about that? Is it just like the different voice, or like why is it needed? Because it just seems to happen a lot, and it's a necessity, some would say. Like, what do you think about that coaching change? Would it change so much at Edmonton and what they're hoping will happen in Los Angeles?
That's a tough one, because you look at the two men that got fired and how they, their resumes and what they've done. Obviously, Todd's been around a little bit longer and had success in more stops. He's older. He's done it longer. But, I think Jay was really great for them when he started. And this happens, it happened I think the change in Long Island was for a team that's kind of built sort of vanilla. Sorry, my kid's going nuts in the background. A team that's going like a vanilla team, they add that kind of spice to it with Patty Waugh coming in. This is just like, you have to do something. You've made all these changes. You've spent all this money in LA. You have to do something, because the expectations were high. For a while, they were good. I didn't think they were going to pull the trigger. With Edmonton, just the way they started, you kind of had to put him out of his misery. And I don't know. I was more surprised about the LA one, especially with the break coming up. I thought maybe they'd reset, but I guess they just thought like their backs are already against the wall, and it was going that poorly where everyone just kind of shut them out. It seems like there might have been some infighting too, and you get a new guy in there that isn't obliged to anybody. He's just going to go in and make his. But it's Jim Hiller too, so he's been around a lot. He's kind of been a part of it. Maybe it's just a shake-up for the boys in the room. Maybe that's all it can be. Every team's different, right? And I don't know how. I was just shocked. I was shocked by LA. I wasn't by Edmonton. Hopefully LA gets the same thing too, because I really liked them at the start of the year.
Ryan, what do you make of the parity in the league? There's been a couple teams that have been at the top. Everyone else, outside of a couple bottom feeders, everyone else is kind of lumped together. They've had some ups and they've had some downs. And what do you make of just some of the teams that are kind of meddling in that middle?
It's crazy, like, with the swings. I've seen so many teams just play poorly for long stretches that you never really, I don't know, maybe I never saw that before this year with that many teams doing it. You get Philly diving now a little bit. The Rangers aren't great. In the West, obviously, it's going the other way for the aforementioned Oilers. I mean, Colorado had a little bit of struggle here and there. Winnipeg's been a great story, and they've been pretty consistent. They've had really good goaltending. They play with structure. I don't know if it's because you're trying to implement so much skill. Every year there's more skill, but there's maybe a little bit less of that conscience defensively. The kids are taught differently. It's very exciting to watch. There's a lot of lead changes. The other thing, too, like 2-goal lead in the third, no one's turning the channel off. No one's leaving the building. There's just more goals. There's more holes. There's more breakdowns. I can't really explain it, but it's not as tight as it has been in years past. And when teams get down, they go on these crazy swings. Minus, I guess, who is it? Vancouver and
Boston,
Winnipeg a little bit.
The Bruins have been pretty consistent, and Winnipeg, Florida's been pretty good as well. But yeah, you get like teams like the Wings, the Leafs. Even the Hurricanes were brutal to start the year. They couldn't get a save. So I'd love to say it's just goaltending, but it's a kind of a comedy of errors for a lot of teams.
We have Brian Boyle, and those showed up for the Leafs last night. They give up a breakaway coming off a power play. They have a defensive breakdown, multiple breakdowns late in the game. Engvall scores a winner with like 2.5 on the clock. And after the game, Sheldon Keefe, specifically talking about that power play breakdown, said that was a peewee play. Like, you learn that kind of stuff in peewee. And he emphasized this is the National Hockey League, in case anyone wasn't aware of that. If you're in that room and those comments make their way to you, how do you respond to your coach saying what he said last night?
Well, I think you know it. I think when things go wrong like that, I would assume 20 guys in that room can watch a play and see how it all broke down. I hear a lot of those comments, or more and more anyways, more frequently coming from the coach in Toronto. And to be honest with you, I don't love it. I really don't. It's obviously not a great position. He's under a tremendous amount of pressure, and they're not probably where they want to be in the standings. Still a really good team. There was a lot of change in the offseason in the front office, obviously. So we'll see kind of what happens in the next couple of weeks with what Tree's going to do with that team, but in terms of the players. But that's, I don't love the comments, sarcastic comments in the media at all. But if I'm a player there, I know what I did wrong, and I can't really control what the coach is going to say. You just try to avoid it. But the Engvall goal, I didn't see a huge breakdown. It was a hard-working goal and a nice finish that, could have easily been stopped as well. Those things happen. But, I didn't love it. And I don't think it helps in the long run with pulling yourself out of something that you think you're in, whether or not they're in it or not, whether this is what they are or they're better than this. I still don't think it's beneficial to just kind of be snide like that.
Well, and you mentioned it, like Keefe has had more of that type of commentary this year than he has in past years, where he's generally been very optimistic, positive. Even if something gets away from him in terms of commentary, he'll circle back the next day and revisit it and say, actually, now that I look back, it was this, that, or the other. As far as I know, he hasn't done that today. If anything, he kind of doubled down on their inconsistencies. And you mentioned that it could be pressure. Could it be that he's just being honest? He doesn't like the team that much, doesn't like what he's seeing? Is it that there is a new GM here where maybe he would operate differently if Dubas was here compared to where Tree Living would be here? What's your theory on why maybe we're seeing something different or hearing something different from Sheldon Keefe?
Well, he could be playing chess, and maybe this is forcing Tree Living's hand a little bit. Maybe he wants to see some moves. Another thing is maybe he's coached a lot of the same guys for a long time, and he's seen mistake after mistake, and it's similar, and they've gone over it. And he's had enough. I can relate to that. I could get upset with that. And I coach 8-year-olds crying out loud. They keep doing the same thing wrong. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But it can be like that, and there's pressure. So you add all those things in together, and the expectations that they won a round last year, and usually you try to grow from that. You can't really, you don't want to take a step back after we finally took that step. So that heat is on him. Every goal against, the camera's on the goalie, and then it goes right to him. So you got to give a little bit of grace to that. There's 32 of these jobs in the league, but they're not all the same, and certainly not the one behind the bench in Toronto. So there's a tremendous amount of pressure on him, and he's a competitive guy, obviously. He's frustrated. He doesn't like to lose.
Brian, from the starting of your career to the end of your career, the game literally changed as far as the physicality, some of the fighting, all of that type of stuff. But the playoffs seem to kind of stay consistent. Have you noticed, you've been in winning situations, you've played on skilled teams that maybe have to adjust their play in the playoffs. Is it still that same mentality heading into it? Because, we've seen teams here, obviously in Toronto, they broke through one a round last year. But the physicality ramps up. The playing for keeps ramps up. Is it a learned thing? Do you have to go through that process? Or is it something that's just in your DNA and you have to call on it?
Well, I think you got to learn. You definitely have to learn each year, and very few guys who come in their first year just light up the playoffs that consistently every single year. Guys go through dips every year. It is the same every year. The ice does shrink, but something sort of changes. What you can get away with changes. What their emphasis is on. I remember one year we couldn't have a scrum. We're playing Ottawa. If you touch someone, you got a penalty. So me and Jason Spezza are sitting next to each other, just holding each other's shoulders. We both got minor penalties because there was a whistle at the net. That's how mad the refs were at our series. Different things happen. You got to be able to adjust on the fly. You got to do so many different things. And the skill level does go up every year. And then Vegas wins the cup last year, playing the exact same way LA won it in 2012 and in 2014. Right? There's similarities. Boston's had success because they play that way every night. They don't beat themselves, teams that can do that, and then that being able to play through that grind, that sludge holding, they can't call everything. They certainly won't in the playoffs. So you have to find that fine line of what you can get away with, when you can get away with it. And I think that comes with, unless you watch every single playoff game your whole life, you got to play it and see exactly. And then calling on that intensity. I remember being in a lot of playoff rounds successive years, being in the first round against the Red Wings, waiting for the second round to start. And it was game one of the playoffs. You got to bring that intensity, otherwise you're going to be going home quick.
Always great catching up with you, Brian. Enjoy the games tonight, and the rest of the way we'll do it again soon.
You too, fellas. Thank you.
There he is, Brian Boyle, former Leaf, NHL Network analyst. And interesting comments on Keefe in particular. He didn't like his comments last night. Like, didn't love.
Well, it's a part of it where it's like, especially in this market, where you can pull a guy into your office and have a grown-ass conversation without doing that. But I think he's at a point where he just doesn't care.
That's the thing.
He's been around long enough. He knows his time here is not lasting forever. Who knows how long it's going to last? And he's going to say, you know what? I'm just not hiding from the truth. Like, you want to know what went on out there? I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And I just don't care.
I like it.
And
I have no problem with it.
And different tactics, too. He might have pulled guys into the dressing room already or into his office. Like, this might be chance number 5. Like, there's probably other situations where he's like, I don't like that play. Get in my office. You go through it, or you go through it the next day. Sometimes you just hit a wall of frustration. Like, okay, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, or I'm going to use the media to deliver the message.
And he understands the market. It's a Canadian market. You can't lie and say, oh, that was just an unfortunate play on the power play there, where there was a line change, the penalty. Wrong.
Yeah.
NHL, that was a peewee play.
Yeah.
Well,
You can't lie in a Canadian market.
Listen, if John Tortorella said the same thing, we'd be like, that's torts. You know, he's not going to put up with it.
Right.
Like, why would Sheldon not be expected to be able to say the same thing?
Yep,
right. And
I agree.
And then I've had an issue more with him the next day apologizing for it, or I'm backtracking. That's like, if he starts. Listen, when they play well, do the right things, I think you should be supportive, whatever. I mean, it's every coach is a little bit different, but that's the way he truly believed he saw it play out last night.
Right.
And I don't think he's alone. I think everyone saw it. We're like, that's a really significant breakdown in the National Hockey League.
Right.
For that to happen, it's just a straight fact. Mike Johnson coming up in 20 minutes. Confirm and deny in about 45. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. Overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Media night last night. Nothing really came out of it. It's always the same thing. Same circus at every Super Bowl. You know, the blue men show up and try to get questions in, and Guillermo from Kimmel, I'm sure, was there asking stuff. Just the same thing every single year.
I saw what is it, Toney, the receiver, Kadarius Toney?
Yeah, Kadarius Toney.
Trending, and I was like, okay, what's that all about? He said that he was a number one receiver, and then they just showed memes of
drop.
If they get me the ball, he said.
He will not take a snap on Sunday.
You don't think so?
No chance.
You don't think
they've been winning without him. He hasn't played the last couple of games. Like, there is no way they're putting Kadarius Toney anywhere.
That is a That's a bet right there.
What if he's a game breaker and they're like, maybe this guy catches one ball,
or
he doesn't,
goes offside,
and costs them the Super Bowl.
He does have immense talent.
Wasn't it the first game of the year against the Lions where he just had drop after drop after drop?
And he went off. Was he the guy who was offside?
He was offside. Not only was he offside, he was the guy that got the touchdown. He was the guy that caught the lateral from Kelsey and goes in and just, he's so jacked. And like, actually, there's a flag. And he turned around. What idiot blocking the back? Who did something stupid? They're like, you dummy. You were offside. I guarantee you, Kadarius Toney
gets 0 snaps.
I wouldn't put him on the field. I wouldn't even dress him. He hasn't dressed the last couple of games.
Belichick him?
I would Belichick him. He hasn't played the last 2 games.
I'm telling you. That is a prop bet. Does this guy show up? Like, is somehow...
Would you trust Kadarius Toney in the Super Bowl?
I would.
Really?
No, you wouldn't, because you're probably betting on San Fran.
What do you want to put? What do you want to?
I just have. Sometimes a skill guy can make a play to help you win a game, but there's the other part of it.
Dennis Malgin. There you go.
Geno Malgin's got all the skill in the world.
Geno Malgin in Game 7.
Yeah. I don't know. Listen, I don't know the rules of him being on a 53-man roster.
I'm not going to bet you 500 if the guy's not putting his gear on.
He's been injured. I would assume 2 weeks allows him to play. I'm sure he's going to be healthy. He wouldn't likely be subjected to the media if they felt like he wasn't going to play.
I just saw him. I saw him trending. I'm like, okay, I need to see what's happened with this guy.
Dude, you look that up. Like, find out if FanDuel even has a Kadarius Toney prop.
There's got to be one. Catches, like, takes one play.
It's got to be 0.5 catches. Like, over, under, does this guy have any receptions in the game?
I mean, he might get one. if he's in the game.
If you're Mahomes, how could you possibly trust this guy?
Dude, what a decoy. If the whole world knows you hate the guy's guts, that's the ultimate decoy.
That is true. He's wide open on a deep right. You're
like when you're a kid, like the chubby, unathletic guy in the end zone. It's like you're so open.
Yeah, you're not throwing to him.
Yeah.
And what happens?
Throw a dart to him, but it's 50-50. He drops the ball.
That's true.
That's the problem. 3rd and long, you got to play underneath. You can move the chains, and you're like, screw it, I'm going to Toney. He drops the ball. You're like, thanks.
Oh.
You can bet on Kadarius Toney plus 950 to score a touchdown.
To score a touchdown.
To score a touchdown.
Okay.
Plus 950.
Thank you. The Doogie Desk. Is there, look up if there's any like receptions or yardage
There
props.
is not at this point.
Nothing. Just
Nothing
catch a touchdown.
Point. Yep.
Wow.
I mean, what plus 950? Do you got the stones to put some money down on Toney?
I do.
I don't know.
All right. Might be worth a flyer. I got you.
Did he catch a touchdown in the Super Bowl?
Dude, toss a G note.
Yeah, I
on
guess
that. Toss a G note on that as a flyer.
A G note on Kadarius Toney. Again, I don't think he's even going to step foot on the field.
That's
what I need to know. I need to know if he's stepping foot on the field.
This would assume he's healthy.
Is that something we can ask Luke? Is this guy?
Yes, we'll ask Luke at 6. Like, if he's healthy and he's dressed, like, if he's dressed, then he probably is out there. So he's not going to play special teams, I don't think. Like,
right.
All right. More on Kadarius Toney.
Our guy.
Our guy. We'll play the Travis Kelce Fergie clip from last night as well. Mike Johnson coming up, confirm and deny coming up. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.